Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Carrot Writer, and I kind of apologize for the way I look with the bleeding on my chin. That's because I was in a shaving incident and I kind of nicked myself a little bit. So I apologize for any inconvenience. If you guys have any kind of reason for a cause of concern as to why I look the way I am, it's nothing to worry about. It's just a little shaving incident. I know it's a little bit inconvenient, so I sincerely apologize. I did not pick up a stray cat, and the cat scratched me or anything like that, so rest assured, I'm okay. This week's movie we're going to be reviewing is The Curse of La Llarona. Now, The Curse of La Llarona is a supernatural horror film. It runs for 1 hour and 33 minutes long. It is a part of the Conjuring universe, which was created by James Wan, who directed a series of movies from the Conjuring universe, which included The Conjuring, the Annabelle series, amongst many other supernatural horror movies that debuted in the 2010s. Now, James Wan did not direct this movie. Instead, the directing duties went to Michael Chaves. It is produced by James Wan, Emily Gladstone, and Gary Doberman. The script was written by Mickey Daughtry and Tobias Iaconis. The score was done by Joseph Bashara. The cinematography by Michael Burgess, and it was edited by Peter Govodzes. That's if I pronounced his name right. And the stars of the movie are Linda Cardellini, who you may have remembered as Velma from the first ever live action movie of the classic Hanna-Barbera cartoon Scooby-Doo. Linda Cardellini is the star in this movie. She is also joined by Roman Christou, Jaynee-Lynne Kinchen, Raymond Cruz, Patricia Velasquez, Marisol Ramirez, Sean Patrick Thomas, Oliver Alexander, Aiden Lewandowski, Irene King, and we also have a cameo guest star role in this movie as Tony Amendola, just to show you that, the Conjuring universe is pretty much featured here. We have Tony Amendola reprising his role as Father Perez from the Annabelle movies. So this pretty much does have the Conjuring universe banter pretty much all over. There was a time where the lovers of the horror genre would gravitate to the cinemas and eagerly await the preceding feature from James Wan, who has become an icon in horror films over the last decade. Starting fresh with The Conjuring, which featured horror films of a new breed that truly relied more on scares and spine-tingling moments over massive body counts and slashing people. Yes, the slasher films are practically dead, unless they're being either remade or rebooted with little to very, very less formulaic stuff than compared to its predecessors in the 80s and 90s. This led to him becoming labeled as the leader of a series of films known as the Conjuring universe. What's interesting about this universe is that the world that is created seems to have some connections to Wan's films and a hint of crossovers which seem to intertwine with each other. In this case, we have Father Perez making an appearance in this movie, and yet you've seen him in the Annabelle movies. So there is going to be some intertwining with the characters in this movie compared to some of the others from the Conjuring universe. Even though you don't see the Annabelle character featured in here, you actually have a character taken from the Annabelle movies, and he was put into this movie as well. So in The Curse of La Llarona, this is the latest addition to Juan's Conjuring universe. Now, do you think it lived up to the standards of its predecessors? To respond to that, I would think not. This plot was just so formulaic, and it was pretty much been done to death. It quickly wears out its welcome quite early on, and it just never fully recovers from it. I mean, if they just did 1 or 2 jump scares in this movie, I would not have too much of a problem with it. But it just seems that the jump scares just happens way too frequently that it's like, can we get on with it already? Yes, we know what La Llorona looks like. She just does not have to be shoved down our throats during the duration of this movie. It's just constantly one jump scare after another, and quickly it loses its charm. If this scary film bores you over scaring you, then something is wrong somewhere. It's just the same movie that Juan has churned over the years, but with different characters, different settings, not to mention different time periods as well, with some characters from past movies in his cinematic universe doing a crossover. I mean, there is really absolutely nothing original in this movie, that we could not care much for the characters, even if they are at least emphatic. That's what I meant to say. Sure, this phantom-like creature has been an iconic entity to the likes of Dracula and the Wolfman, but it really serves no purpose if fans are not thrilled by the outcome of just how bad this movie had turned out. And I'm not saying that any of the other movies in the Conjuring universe is Oscar caliber, not by a long stretch. But at least, from movies like the Annabelle movies and the Conjuring movies, at least we had some things new to deliver in the early goings of the Conjuring universe. But now everything is just pretty much eat, sleep, conquer, repeat. That's pretty much what we get here. It's just that the formula has now been done to death, that it has now become more tiring and laborsome than enthralling and enjoyable. And even with the appease to the Latin community, since La Llorona is a fixture in Mexican horror, it does not come across as any different than any of the other scary movies that we have seen in the last few years, where the focus is on supernatural entities, then instead of practically indestructible movie monsters that just go around slashing stupid people corner to corner. I mean, if you think that Bathsheba from the Conjuring movie is any different from La Llorona, the only thing I could just say is that they only just differ in appearance and name, but motives are pretty much still the same. It's a letdown that when scary films get a PG-13 rating, it's even more mind-boggling that when it does get an R rating, it does not do much to make it any more horrifying. At first I thought, wow, geez, it's going to be an R rating, so we're expecting to probably see more scares. We're probably expecting to get more story. We're probably expecting to get more supernatural mind games delivered. But nope. The only thing we get is just more jump scares, more facial close ups of the evil villain who's stalking children and lamenting to the fact that she is perpetually grounded here on this earth and is just seeking redemption, even though she's not going to get any of it. Still, it's like if you've seen Bathsheba, it's pretty much La Llorona with a different name and a different physical characteristic, but pretty much the same mentality, just the same. It's a gracious thing the iconic La Llorona has an origin story dating back in time to the 17th century Mexico, where a mad woman was frustrated over her husband for cheating on her with another woman, so she gets revenge by killing him, and then her anger continues to linger as she goes out and kills her sons and drowns them down a well. Heartbroken by her grief, she commits suicide, and legend has it that instead of either going to heaven or rotting in hell, her punishment is to be forced to stay on earth till eternity. And since then, she's been stalking children and killing them. And rumors have it that if you hear her weeps, you're all in for it. Of course, her primary target is children, so all I can say is, children beware, because La Llorona is coming after you. So after a brief origin of what led to her being the weeping woman, and what has been something she's been doing for the past 5 centuries, we now shift to 1973 Los Angeles with no reason particular except for being nostalgic in a period where people were more free from their daily lives and didn't depend entirely on social media to get by in life. Smartphones and quick information were still ions away, but still we just can't ignore the high level of stupidity that the characters do in these kinds of movies. And I'm not saying the slasher films feature genius people in there. They're pretty much all got killed off by these evil entities due to their lack of poor decisions or just being plain stupid. Linda Cardellini takes the leading spot as Anna Tate Garcia, a widowed woman of 2 kids named Chris, played by Roman Christou, and Sam, played by Jaynee-Lynne Kinchen. And her profession, her job or profession is she's a social worker, and she is tending with a very troubled woman named Patricia Alvarez, played by Patricia Velasquez, who has not been functioning very well lately. She seems to be somewhat mentally unstable and paranoid, and I'm not trying to say that to sound cruel. but she is doing something that is totally um, almost close to being abusive by having her two sons locked in a closet. And it's not because they're bad kids. It's not because that they're so out of control that she can't control them, so she's locking them in a closet. No, according to Patricia, she is keeping them locked in the closet for their protection. And who is she protecting her children from? La Llorona. She is on the hunt for them. Of course, Anna thinks that Patricia has gone insane, so they have her arrested because it is still abuse and it is still a dangerous violation to lock your kids in a closet. If La Llorona is not going after them, they'll surely likely suffocate inside a closet. So that's not exactly a wise decision on her part, but we can kind of understand what she's going through because her kids are under a deep threat and are being stalked by La Llorona, who could potentially kill them. She eventually ends up getting arrested, and her kids eventually wind up in foster care. But will that stop La Llorona and her wrath of vengeance? Hardly the case. She eventually ended up killing the two boys, and then all of a sudden, La Llorona has decided to take her attention to Anna's two kids, Chris and Sam. The woman proclaims that her sons are being under the spell of La Llorona, aka the Weeping Woman, played by Marisol Ramirez. Sadly, the boys die. However, the ghost turns towards Anna's children, Chris and Sam. At first, Anna's passive ways are expunged. That is until she finally confronts the ghost. So, under the help, so when she finally does see the ghost is continually stalking them, playing dangerous mind games with them, almost coming this close to killing them, and almost killing Anna. So then she decides to have her house exorcised. So she calls on Father Perez, played by Tony Amendola from the Annabelle series. She asks him she asks Father Perez to have La Llorona exorcised so that she could finally leave her and her family alone. Leave her kids alone, leave the family alone, and for La Llorona to just get out of their lives forever. Unfortunately, that is not Father Perez's line of work, but he does offer her the services of a person who could find a way to manipulate La Llorona so that she could stay out of Anna and her family's lives forever. So he assists her to a former priest, now a professional exorcist, who's almost like kind of like a medicine man or a shaman. He goes by the name of Rafael Olvera, played by Raymond Cruz, who kind of lets his inner Max von Sydow from The Exorcist loose. He kind of like plays off a bit of Max von Sydow's character in The Exorcist, and to see what he can do to let her not do evil things to them anymore, but to keep her away from Anna and her family forever. It's not going to be easy. She is a tough act to follow, But Anna and her family are depending on Raphael to put a stop to her wrath once and for all, so that forever Anna, Chris, and Sam can live together in peace without any fear of evil entities trying to bother them. But also La Llorona not only attacks them from face value, but she can also climb into the soul and into the bodies of her victims. I mean, her daughter Sam eventually ends up getting inside. La Llorona gets inside of Sam's body. And sometimes I even think there might even be hints that after Raphael finally killed La Llorona by shoving like a dagger inside of her, potentially, hopefully, killing her off. Somehow, I often think that maybe La Llorona may have crept inside of Anna's body. So, are we wondering, are we potentially going to be seeing another La Llorona sequel? Well, from the looks of how bad this movie is, I highly doubt it. We might probably have another Conjuring movie in the near future. We might probably have another Annabelle movie in the near future. But La Llorona is just highly questionable. It could happen. I'm not sure. I'm not saying it won't, but it had some pretty bad ratings in the box office, and there has been a lot of negative criticism about this movie, so it makes me feel very highly questionable if we will get a sequel, or if it might be just, like a TV movie, direct to TV or direct to video. Because this movie was just plain bad, to be honest with you. I'm not trying to be a cynic or trying to be like a snob because I think horror movies are garbage. No. I never said that all horror movies are garbage. Sure, they're not going to win you any Oscars and it's not going to change your lives. It's pretty much mostly for escapist fun, and that's pretty much what its intentions and its purposes. But this movie just really stunk at the box office. The sole moment where there was a level of intensity was when Chris and Sam were locked in the car. That was when the movie offers, and then from then on, the movie offers little to in terms of frights or even originality. It's like if you've seen the Conjuring movies, you may have seen the Annabelle movies, and they pretty much run under the same formula. La Llorona is no exception. Even if they did try to manipulate its audience by saying, "Oh, this is going to be R-rated, so we're going to have more scares, we're going to have more frights, we're going to have more story, we're going to have more intensity," but all we ended up doing was having more close-up shots of La Llorona and more jump scares. And if you think that a story should just depend heavily on just jump scares alone, you're crazy. The appearance of La Llorona is definitely not exactly that scary looking. It looks kind of more wax sculptured than it is real, with its deranged face, blood from her eyes, and her darkened clawed hands looks nothing that we've seen in the past. As far as I'm concerned, it didn't even look like an entity. It looked more like a Halloween costume or a Halloween prop, if anything. Yeah. Also, the atmosphere is very anticlimactic as well. And even though, Raphael was doing his little tricks with the eggs and his little voodoo black magic, sure, it may look very impressive, but often at times it looked very awkward and cheesy. And in the end, he didn't really need all of that stuff. Basically, when La Llorona tried to go into Anna's soul just so that they could take possession of her kids and have her kill them, Raphael just basically ended by just shoving a dagger through her heart and killed her off. When he probably should have just done it all that time and would have saved them from all this magic and hoodoo voodoo bullshit. There was no need for that. Sure, it looked impressive, and sure, it was probably great for filler, and just maybe enough to make the villain character all the more scary and evil. But in the end, the ending just made me feel cheated. Like, why go through all that magic hocus pocus stuff that he was doing to try to put a stop to her when he could have just saw her, took a dagger, and stabbed her, and it would have been all over. And now she's probably gonna have to pay him overtime for his little magic tricks with the egg, and one of them cracks open and it's blood or a live chicken embryo manifestation. I mean, this is like one of those type of movies where the solution could have easily been settled, but instead it just made you feel a bit cheated there. So, under the direction of Michael Chaves, James Wan serves as a producer here, believes that the effects to get our gears in tune are rain, thunder, and strong wind. So that's kind of like what the atmosphere was, which is kind of pretty cliche when it comes to movies of horror, suspense, and drama. Yes, it always has to be unpleasant weather. I guess it's to sort of add effects, and knowing that this is a supernatural genre, we can't have a bright, sunny day. It has to be dark and rainy. And pretty much it's just La Llorona going wild, going crazy, trying to mess up the lives of innocent people just because she is still perpetually lamented over killing her entire family and then killing herself. This was truly a movie that could have been potentially good. You know, maybe up there in the ranks of The Conjuring and the Annabelle series. But it just somehow failed on just so many levels, it's quite overwhelming. Character-wise, there really wasn't very much to get intrigued by because virtually the same archetypes that we've seen over the last 10 to 15 years. Nothing has really changed that much. La Llorona will only change her ways, which suits the direction this film is geared towards, and lacks anything that is climactic. The scary manifestation about the flick is that it's opened to a potential crash-grabbing sequel. So likely we will probably see a sequel in the near and foreseeable future. But will I get to see the sequel again? No, maybe I will, maybe in case things get better, or maybe if I'm in the mood for a good Halloween scare. Maybe I probably will see it, but will I have any kind of high expectations? Probably not. But but I will probably check it out to see if it will get better, or if it will pretty much stagnate to its low expectations, or maybe it might even surprise me by being much more higher than I could even anticipate. But until then, this movie was pretty much not a complete dud, but it was still an unfortunate failure for me. You know, you can disagree with me or you can agree with me all you want, but on a scale of 1 to 10, I give The Curse of La Llorona a 4 out of 10. So if they're going to do a sequel, let's hope this one is for the better. So I guess this ends my ride review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. But just remember the 3 simple rules. Be kind, be courteous, and please refrain from any rude comments. And I will be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Carrot Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.